standing and going to court for solving and getting solutions to electoral disputes. But of course, that will come much later after our conversation. Now, today is the Safer Internet Day 2021, and joining me in studios are two guests. I have with me Angela Tugume, a risk analyst from the National Information Technology Authority. Nita Uganda joining me. You're very welcome, Angela.
Thank you very much.
Well, together with Angela in studios is another gentleman, Mutegeki Cliff Agaba, who is also, Cliff Agaba is from the ISOC, Internet Society of Uganda chapter. You also welcome Ndugu Mutegeki.
Thank you.
Well, a very good morning, and it's you call it the Safer Internet Day today. I think I'll start with Angela from Nita, you to briefly tell us what Nita is and of course what Internet Safer Day is.
Okay, thank you very much. So NITA is the National Information Technology Authority, Uganda. It's an autonomous statutory body that was established under the NITA-U Act of 2009. What we do, we regulate, coordinate information technology services across the country. One of the key agendas that we are currently driving is digitizing Uganda. We want to put every government service online to make it easier and quicker and save time for citizens to be able to transact a business with government. So we are under the general supervision of the Ministry of ICT and national guidance. Yeah, so that's a brief about NITA.
That's why we have the GCIC, that's why we have UCC, that's why we have all the others.
Yes, the same ministry.
Okay,
yes.
This is ministry. Let's talk about the Safer Internet Day, for example. Maybe what is it here for, the Safer Internet Day? And did you even know that Internet is actually not safe or safe?
Yes, so what we're celebrating in 2021 this year is actually the 18th edition of the Safer Internet Day. What we're looking at is that we want to make the internet a safer place for everybody, but more especially for young people, children and young adults, because we know that these are the most vulnerable groups. So, and because it's not a single thing that we do as a country, it's a global effort. It's a global. Everyone needs to put their hands on deck, and we need to be involved. So globally, every country is celebrating this Safer Internet Day. Our theme this year is Together for a Better Internet. As Uganda, we have chosen to specifically focus on child online safety this year.
Together for Safer Internet is the global theme.
Yes.
Specifically for Uganda, we talk about child safer.
Child online safety.
Child online safety.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Ndugu Mutegeki Agaba, welcome. You come from the Internet Society of Uganda, Internet Society Uganda chapter.
Yes, that's
Uganda
right.
chapter. Oh, that's what. ISOC. Well, to tell me about that and also relate to her. How do you come into this partnership? iOS, ISOC, and NITA Uganda.
Well, ISOC Uganda chapter is part of the global organization, which is the Internet Society, and it stands for, it believes that the Internet is for everyone, and also believes that the Internet should be open, secure, and trustworthy. And that is why we engage in such events, such activities as the Safer Internet Day, because we believe that there are so many people that are at risk. In as much as the internet is for everyone, not everyone uses the internet for the good. And because we have so many groups that are at risk, including children and young adults, we engage in such activities so that we can see how we can raise awareness on how to keep the internet safe. Yeah.
So what is expected of this particular year's celebrations? We will not look at celebrations as the traditional way of doing celebrations, but as we talk about the internet, the Safer Internet Day today, what do you expect from Uganda, for example, from ISOC?
Well, you see, what makes the internet beautiful is that it connects, different people. Without it, we wouldn't be able to access different online platforms. So what we expect from different people, including the government organizations, civil society, is for us to work together, because this is not a one-man show. It is something that we work collaboratively to ensure that we get the best results out of it. And in line with Safer Internet Day, we believe that a major collaboration between where the children spend most of their time, that is home, school, religious organizations like on Sunday where they go to church. So these are like a sphere, like a hedge of protection for the children. So we need to make sure that they are safe in those different spheres.
Angela, how safe are we with the internet, even just before we get into the children, the safety of the children? But just talk about internet safety itself in Uganda. And now coming from NITA, for example, an authority that is here to manage, to help us digitize the country, get into e-government and all these things, and eventually we will actually be there. We'll digitize the entire country, and you know, we'll have everything on our fingertips like that. But how are we safe? How safe are we, rather, with internet, before you even just delve the discussion onto the children themselves?
Okay, how safe are we with the internet?
How safe are we with the internet?
So I'd like to bring this analogy. So the internet is like a double-edged sword. So there's the good side and there's the bad side. And so as we use the good side, as we learn with the internet, as we use the internet to transact, as the internet connects us, our family, friends, as it makes work easier, we must also remember that not everyone, like Cliff said, is on the internet for the good. So for everything that we do at NITA Uganda, even as we digitize the services, the government services, there is always that component of information security. So for every service that is brought online, we make sure that that service is actually secure, that citizens can use it in a very secure manner, in a way that they are confident. They should be confident that their information, first of all, will only be accessed by those who are supposed to access it. It will not be altered by people who are not supposed to alter it, and it will also be available when needed. For example, if you put a government service online, that service must be available for the users when they need to use it. That is also part of security, of safety on the internet. So we know that it's a challenge. For us in the information security field, we are always playing, it's almost like you have the cyber criminals, then you have the good guys. You have the bad guys and you have the good guys. So we're always chasing the bad guys. It's almost like seeing police, cops on the street, and they're trying to keep the community safe. So it's the same thing that we do online. So there are quite a number of measures that are put in place to make sure that whatever service, whatever system, people that are online are actually safe and secure. And that is why we come out in so many ways to look at Safer Internet Day. A while ago, before we started, I think someone was talking about, we have so many days. We have Safer Internet Day, we have, I don't know, so many other days.
Yesterday was epilepsy.
Exactly, yesterday
was cancer.
Exactly, cancer.
Cancer, yesterday was epilepsy, today is internet, tomorrow it may be something different.
Thank you. So the beauty of that is that we create these days to create awareness. The biggest defense, the biggest tool when it comes to internet safety or security is being aware. So for as long as our users are aware, then that is a very, very good tool. That is a very good step, and that is the first step. So even in relation to that, NITA is carrying out a national cybersecurity awareness campaign, just to bring to people and to users and to tell them, you know, this internet you use, these services that you use, this is how you should use them, this is what you should do. When you have a password, do not share it. When you get online, verify the person you're talking to. So the biggest tool is actually being aware. So the beauty of these days, the purpose of these days is to actually bring awareness about, and people know.
When you talk about child online safety, aren't you just being alarmists? For example, we want to imagine and think, how many of our children are actually online on internet in this country, Uganda? Of course, you'll give us statistics of how many people use internet in this country, how many people are online in this country, but isn't it an alarming theme when you talk about child online safety? Are we trying to say children are this doomed, and the reality in Uganda is how many of these children actually even access internet?
Well,
well,
the fact is children right now in our day and age are more exposed than we were.
Who are the
back in
children in
days.
this case? What are we talking about? Who are we talking about?
Well,
Those that we call the children now.
Well, at the moment, let's accept it. At the age of about maybe 7 to 9, a child can access a phone, and some can even operate phones, mobile phones, better than adults can do. Now, that alone shows that they are much more exposed, at an early age, and some of them don't have supervision from their parents. Some may not even have. Some parents may not even have time to. Maybe try to see what their child is browsing or what they're doing online. So you find that in that way they are exposed and they are at risk, which is why I believe, in as much as we celebrate days such as the Safer Internet Day, it should go beyond just the day. It should be a daily activity that parents, the teachers, or anyone who can be able to play that role of supervising a child when they're on the internet. And then also, suffice to say, is you know, at times you don't notice certain things are happening until you see pointers. I would call
Signs.
yes, signs. For example, a child might be withdrawn, or they might be saying certain things, certain language that you've not been used to. So all those early warning signs should not be ignored.
So what are we making them safe from? A child online safety. Now, what are we securing them from? I need to hear this from both of you.
Okay, maybe to
yes, Angela.
To add on to what Cliff was saying, you were asking, is this an alarmist? Are we being alarmist? Is it actually this bad?
Because I'm imagining how many children
how many children are accessing internet. But last year, Corona happened, COVID happened, and what happened? Schools were shut down, and everyone had to go back home. Now, for most of the schools in the urban centers, most of the schools are actually online, on the internet. So kids that were restricted from using gadgets, if I may say, now have full access to those gadgets.
Because it's the way to go.
Exactly, 5 to 8. And if you look at the trend, we are going digital, we are going global. So it's something that we need to look at right now, even before the entire country is online. If you talk about children in the rural communities, you may actually think they do not have access to these gadgets, but they actually do. If they have parents that have smartphones, that's part of the problem. The child could use that smartphone. So the question is, what is the child looking at on that smartphone? Is the parent aware that if this child has this smartphone and it's connected, they could view images that are not appropriate,
indecent
from
images.
indecent images?
Well.
That's one of the things we're going to talk about, pornographic images. Or a child may get that phone and create an account on TikTok, on Facebook, and they're just 12 or something, and then they will engage with another person who claims to be 15, but is actually a grown adult, and so they create a kind of friendship. And like Cliff was saying, you will not realize that your child is actually in a relationship, has a friend that is way beyond their age, that is influencing them in ways that they shouldn't be influenced. So that's looking at the holistic picture of how big this problem can actually get.
What have you done as NITA to help us get there? Because I think by and large it still comes back to you as the national authority.
Thank you. Before I get into what we've done as NITA, we're saying this is everyone's responsibility, from parents to teachers to elders to people
all
like
the
yourself.
Stakeholders.
Yes, to all the stakeholders. That is why we partner with ISOC as well to bring this into the spotlight. So what we've done as NITA, one and foremost, we have the Computer Misuse Act. And this has sections to do with child pornography, child abuse, and harassment. So there are quite a number of penalties, if I may say, that are taken when you do this. So if you have been abused as a child, if pornography has been made of you, you can actually go to the court of law to report, and things will be done. So we have the environment, we have the legal environment for this kind of thing. And then the other thing that we have continued to do is partnerships. We have a partnership with the Internet Watch Foundation. We have partnerships with ISO. One of the key things that we have done this year is a campaign that talks about helping children be children. And we have a reporting portal that is called stopit.ug. So what does this reporting portal do? If you come across images of children, inappropriate images, pornography of children online, report these images on that portal. And so these images are taken down, and then and so we stop having a footprint of an image of a child. Because imagine this, an image of you was taken when you were a young child, and now you are an adult, and people say that the internet never forgets, and this image is still online. So that perpetuates the trauma that you faced as a child when the abuse was being done against you. So if you report these images, stopit.ug, they'll be taken down, and that will begin the process of healing for the children. So we have this partnership with Ministry of Gender as well, where we come together as stakeholders and also create what we call, Cliff will talk more about it, what we call the Child's Online Safety Toolkit. What should children do to protect themselves? What should parents do? And what should teachers, guardians, basically everyone has a role to do to protect the children. And then the other thing, like I had mentioned earlier, is this national awareness that we're talking about, making sure that people are aware of this problem, of this issue.
Let's talk about the risk itself now. You're from NITA Uganda. We talk about child online safety. And we just want to know, maybe Cliff will also come in here. But we want to, have you assessed the risk? And who is most at risk in all the things? And when we talk about child online safety, you've explained and of course told us all the things, and then of course we know that our children now are actually more IT savvy than maybe ourselves. The owners of these gadgets or anything, they can actually get into your stuff without even revealing maybe the passwords to them. But then how big is that risk to us in this country? Because I'm very sure when you decide to actually now create awareness about this, then you've assessed the magnitude of the risk that we have in this country.
Okay.
Okay, well, as a child, I used to be very curious and inquisitive on so many things. And because I personally had decided that I want to pick on things that are going to build me as a person, I was developmental. Now, not everyone could make the decision that I made when I was still a child, to decide, oh, okay, this I want, this I don't want. And when I started using the internet, I decided, I thought about it as a very, very good resource where I can learn so many things to improve the knowledge that I have. So most times I have this moral, for lack of a better word, constraint that if this is not going to help me, I'm not going to use it. So as people using the internet, or as guardians for the internet, parents, teachers, we ought to also teach our children morals, to tell them, you know, if you see such content on the internet, just don't browse it. Yeah, because at times you might set privacy controls and the child knows how to unblock it. Yeah, so in the end it goes back to you as a child, or you as a parent. Are you actually instilling the right values in your child for them to have self-control, not to view content that they're not supposed to be seeing? Yeah.
Which ages do you think are most at risk? Case you want to add on to what is
just to add on what to Cliff has said. In our society today, you'd ask who is the most at risk. You look at children, you look at young adults, you look at women. It's not different when you get on into the internet, when you get online. Who is at most at risk? It's the same category of people. Why? Children are very, very trusting. I mentioned an example of an older a person grooming a young child and eventually abusing them. And there's also saying this thing that if I'm a dog on the internet, no one is going to know that I'm actually a dog on the internet. So like Cliff was saying, we need to actually teach our children what it means to be on the internet and how safe they can be. So which age group is at risk?
Most at risk, yes.
Cliff, you can help me with this.
Well, what I would generally say, I wouldn't like to categorize the age group because they're all in the same category.
As children?
Yes, children and young adults. They are all equally exposed. For me to say that one is more exposed than the other is, it wouldn't be justified. Yeah. Because as long as you are exposed to the internet, there is good and bad. Yeah. So all of them are equally exposed in my opinion, and that is why we should put emphasis on both, not just the one that we think is more highly exposed than the other.
As Cliff was actually talking, in our day and age, look at the adolescents. I could say when you look at our current living, they're probably the most exposed, even in real life. If you're a parent and you have adolescent children in your house, I think you probably have less sleep at night. Because this is an age where you're discovering, you're getting to know who am I as a person. There's things of self-esteem issues. There's lots of insecurities. So this is the age group that is very susceptible to bullying, both physically and also online. If a teenage girl of 13 years puts up a picture on Facebook, for example, and the comments that come through are bullish comments, you look ugly, what's wrong with that dress, that is going to have an effect on that child. That is going to traumatize that child because of this developmental period that these children are in. So we see the effects being more.
Maybe if I could just point out something small.
Yes, do.
There is online gaming, and a lot of our children, especially the boys, into online gaming, and this kind of activity is full of scammers. They're full of adverts that show sexual content. Yeah. So maybe just to highlight out that section of the boys especially, because now when you learn something online, you would want to maybe experiment, or you see a pornographic website, you go click on it, and before you know it, it becomes an addiction, and you would want to put into practice what you saw online. So just to answer the previous question, I would highlight out that section of
but how safe are we with the internet? Because we talk about Safer Internet Day, and how safe are we with the internet itself? Because when you look at ourselves and the manner in which we use the internet, and how it has actually now started shaping our societies, we've moved away from the traditional ways of doing stuff, and now back to internet. You will notice that we are very antisocial nowadays. That you find 3 people seated in a room, and nobody's actually talking together, but they're talking to people in the US, they're talking to people in Japan, they're talking to people in Tororo, they're talking to people, you are seated next to Angela here, you do not know how Angela is feeling or doing anything, but you know how somebody
so
is actually.
You know more about someone who's not seated with you.
Who is not seated with you, exactly. And I'm just wanting to point you to that now. You, as I think the regulators, you just talked about the Computer Misuse Act, yes, which is actually here. I don't know whether people have actually read it now. These are laws that you only just get into the wrong side of the law, and they remind you that there is section 15, there is that of the law that of course says these things. But when you look at them, and you just pointed out something on Facebook, now we do not have ages here. I don't know where somebody actually now owns a page on Facebook or an account with Twitter or anything, and they are there. Now, the other day, like you're saying, they're posting this, they're posting that, they are throwing up this, they're throwing up that, and the laws don't seem to actually be protecting us because there's a lot of falsehood, there's a lot of scams and poses and all the things on internet, and many of our people have actually fallen prey to these scams here. Now, we talk about Safer Internet Day today, and ISOC is here, fortunately, you, Nita, you actually here. Now, away from just being mindful of the children, that yes, they should be safe and all the things, but even the adults are actually also not safe on internet, and just not know whether there is a mechanism of securing and protecting all of us internet users.
Thank you. The problem is global. The problem is big. It's actually a bigger problem than we think. For as long as we are getting online, we are going to have cyber criminals, we are going to have cyber crime. That is
harassment of all
harassment of all sorts. That's a given. That's going to be there. But the question is, what can we do to curb this effect? And of course, you've talked about the laws, and one of the things that we're trying to actually do, that we're doing, is creating awareness, sensitizing from the law enforcement to the prosecutors, so that the whole ecosystem knows that there's this law, this is what you can do, from the public to everyone that is involved. That's number one. Number two, we have to keep what can I say, talking about the dangers. It's like you being at home in your house and in a neighborhood. Every day you make sure that your house is locked. Every night you actually lock your house. You have burglar proofing. You have all these things, and even as you have them, you make sure that they are actually in use. You tell your children, make sure your door is locked. You tell everyone in your house, make sure your door is locked. That's the same thing we're doing. We're telling everyone, make sure that you are aware of what you're doing online. If you get a password, there's so many things. If you get a password, do not share it. I think you're getting now messages from telecom companies telling you your PIN is yours alone. Do not share that PIN. If you create, if you get your mobile money PIN, if I may ask, how many of you have changed your mobile money PIN from the default that was given unto you? You've seen these calls that come, oh, you have won this and this, there's a promotion, come and pick up your prize, but you haven't participated in any promotion. So when do you think miracles are going to happen?
No, people believe in miracles in this country. Miracles happen.
Okay, they do happen.
Yes, so people believe in miracles. Somebody wakes up and they think, yes, God has ordered this phone call to come to go and actually pick some million. So they believe in miracles.
Yes, so to make things simpler, the same measures that you take to protect yourself in the physical world is actually the same mentality that you should take online. It's not very different. It's not at all. There is another example that I like to give. When you give your child a bicycle, you teach them how to use the bicycle. You teach them how to pedal. You teach them how to be safe on the road. You teach them to look left, to look right. Basically, you give them a manual for using that bicycle. So the same thing, once your child is online or you are online, you get to know how to safely use the internet, how to safely be online. So we're going to have cybercrime, we're going to have harassment, we're going to have criminals, we're going to have all these things. But we need to be aware, and we need to mitigate the effects that these things have on us as adults and also as children. Yes.
Maybe just in addition to what she is talking about, we need to understand what private information is, and we keep private information private. Because it's that private information that someone on the internet is going to use to maybe track you or try to do any dubious things with you. Earlier on, she mentioned that anyone can be anyone on the internet. Yeah, you could be 12 years and you register like you're 18. So that's how some people actually take advantage of others over the internet.
What are you doing with parents who have, of course, the children have access to their phones, but then the parents themselves are very pornographic. They all the things now. You are looking at a child who sneaks into the father's phone and then possibly open up a pseudo account or on Facebook or anything like that. But how about those who do not get into starting a Twitter account or a Facebook account or whatever that
and
is?
The phones are just
but then they have access to the mother's phone, to the father's phone, which has every dart in it. You know, we have these parents who everything, you know, is just onto the gadget. Yes. How are you protecting these now? But when we actually talk about this, for example, I don't know. You're the experts.
Well, that's it's quite a tricky question, but I'll give it my best try. Well, the first thing is, of course, in as much as we are reaching out to children and young adults, the parents are also, they take a part in this. Yeah, we believe that parents should also be responsible enough not to expose their children. Yeah, and if first, what I would encourage is actually parents to stop doing that in case they realize that their children actually check their phones. Yeah, if they are struggling with a habit and they are gradually getting away from it, would encourage them to use maybe strong passwords or encrypt their phones. Yeah, we understand that habits don't go away in an instant. It's it's a gradual process. So we cannot disregard the fact that our parents also take a key role in this, because they spend at least more than 60% of their time with their children, besides the children being at school.
Yeah. And in regards to that, I get this analogy. You have a car, you'd not give keys to your 3-year-old and tell them to go and drive the car.
Yeah.
No parent would do that. So look at, if your phone is full of every every dirty thing, look at that tool as a very dangerous tool that shouldn't
as a gun.
Yes, it's even worse than a gun, because the effect of those images of whatever the child sees stay with the child for as long as for their entire life.
Yes.
So if your phone is that explosive, keep it away from children. Like, basically hide it, keep it away, because I cannot start telling parents, oh, do not view pornography. That's a losing battle. You just keep whatever is not good for your child away from your child. If there's a very sharp knife in the house, you will put that knife away from the child. So do the same with your phone. And like Cliff said, make sure it has very, very strong passwords. Kids are brilliant. They will look at you, unlock your phone once or twice, and they'll get to know your password. So watch out for that. But the key thing I would advise for the parents, keep that explosive material or tool away from your child.
How safe are we with the internet and with all these gadgets where all the things are stored somewhere? And now you are thinking, possibly nobody knows how much money I have on the account, nobody knows how much money I have on mobile money, nobody knows where I possibly put all the things, and this is all in virtual space. Somehow we talk about safety, and I'm only thinking, how safe am I if I convert every other thing of mine and put it into digital format, and that's why I have it. It can be deleted in an instant. It can. I'm looking at all the things. Traditionally, we now, the old school, we were used to having all the things. Now we actually now transiting to digital life, digital world, and all the things where reading materials, lectures, and everything will come online. Now the other day, 1, 2, 3 things, you've messed yourself up, everything is gone. We're used to carrying traditional books where we have textbooks and writing notes and all the things. We talk about safety, but how safe are we when we choose? ISOC will come in on this particular. But when we choose to holistically get into that digital e-world, assure us.
You know, your book could actually get banned.
Yes,
and you lose that information.
Yes, but you see, the time it gets banned, then it should have been a problem. This can actually raise everything in an instant. But I can't ban all the 20 books. I can't ban I can't ban a library of 2,000 books.
At that time, MOOC caught fire. The lib caught fire.
Well, it has to take all those energies to come and touch them.
Okay, the point I'm trying to make is that nothing is safe. Even in the physical world. So what we do in the digital world is to make sure that we create mechanisms to have, what can I call it, copies or backups of all whatever you have online. So if you have things on your phone, back them, if they're very important to you, back them up on a laptop, or you can use a cloud service. Do that as well. So make sure you have copies or backups of very vital information for you. Earlier when I talked about availability, this information must be available for it to be secure. So there must be all sorts of mechanisms to make sure that this information is actually available. That's the key thing, because it's easy to create, it's also easy to back up. So when we look at safety, when we look at security, we are looking at availability. So when we have systems online, we make sure that they are actually redundant, they are working to make sure that they don't go down. So the key thing is to have backups, to have to create copies of these things, but even as you create them, you make sure you keep them safely. And then also key to that is how do you destroy information online that you no longer need? If you're tired of that phone and you want to give it away to someone, how do you make sure that it's actually clean of all your information? So there are things that we also look out for. Make sure you clean it, you sanitize it well. These days sanitize is a catchy word. We use it a lot. So you sanitize your phone as well and give it to someone else when it's clean. So the key thing is you actually keep copies, you keep backups of this information. It's very volatile.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can also keep copies of it.
Well, you want to say something?
Yes. Part of what we do as the Internet Society is encourage encryption. Some of the things that she has talked about, like the password.
Encryption is passwording.
Yeah, encryption is basically, it's a security term where you secure what you feel is private and you create gateways. For example, if you're in a house, she gave an example of a house. Most of our houses have so many doors. There are things you keep in the bedroom, there are things you keep in the sitting room, there are things you keep in the open. Yeah?
In the library.
Yes, exactly. So security or safety starts with you. Being in a secure environment, maybe protected, doesn't guarantee that you're safe. Anything can happen. So do you feel safe as a person? Yeah. So for us to understand that we are safe, we need to decide first of all what is private. Let's keep it private, and we secure that. Now, some of the things that are involved in encryption is having things like strong passwords. Is using, for example, with the phones, we now have phones that have fingerprint readers at the back. It's also one of the other ways that you can be able to
Identify it.
Yes, easily open your phone in case you don't want anyone to access it, maybe if they know your password or your screen lock pattern.
Okay. Well, two more finally here. One, I want to know from you whether the trends actually for internet harassment, are they increasing? Are they on the rise? Are they decreasing? Are we managing it? And there's one here from Muzeyo Wana. It says, add murder the list of cyber crimes because victims who know that the law can't touch their tormentors will simply terminate them permanently. Can I read it again?
Yes, yes, please.
It says, add murder to the list of cyber crimes because victims who know that the law cannot touch their tormentors will simply terminate them permanently.
Okay.
Are we on the rise? Are we on a decrease? Are you managing it? Then a few tips here of how to actually manage this thing.
Okay, so I'll go first and then Cliff
comes in later.
Come in later. So is it on the increase? Of course, it's on the increase. The low costs of putting everything online, we are fighting as NITA. We are trying to make sure that the internet costs keep going down. You have the pandemic that has thrown what in the works, a spanner in the works. Yeah, so that makes it very precarious. So it's on the increase, it's on the rise. So think of it this way: as the usage of the internet increases, so does cybercrime. So there's the harassment, so there's bullying, so there's insecurity on the internet also come on the rise. So it's a cat and mouse game. So we keep running after the cyber criminals, the bullies, and the crime. So it is definitely on the rise. So we'll keep the awareness up. We'll keep inventing new tools, new ways of making sure that people are safe online. We'll keep making sure that we can actually identify people online and prove that they are who they say they are. Cliff was talking about encryption, but that's just a simple way of saying you write in code. You basically, like I can now read what's in your notebook, but if you're encrypt it, you basically write in coded form, and it's gibberish to me who doesn't understand your code. So there are things that we'll do. What are the tips? What are the other questions? The tips?
Prevention. I just need to know that some general tips on prevention of this particular abuse or so. Those that I think people need to understand.
Okay, I'll leave that for Cliff on the prevention of the tips.
Okay. Now, about 49.1% of the people are connected to the internet now,
in this country.
Globally.
Oh, globally.
Yes, and
49%.
About, yes, and that leaves the rest of the figures.
3 billion people.
Yeah, approximately. Now that leaves about the rest not being connected. Now, the more people that get connected to the internet, the higher the risk. The higher the numbers grow, so the higher the risk. Now, how to prevent the risk? You know, they always say that prevention is better than cure. It's always easier to treat something before it starts than to treat it after it has begun. So just getting these small principles and adding on a few others that will come up in the future depending on the kind of technologies that we shall be having by then, it's just a matter of amplifying the small things we've been talking about and doing it on a large scale, and then also to understand that this is not a drive that is done by just one person or just one organization. That is why as ISOC we partner with NITAU. In the previous years we've partnered with UCC, where we did a drive 3 schools per region. We've also done work in schools like Ambresoli, where we do awareness drives. So it's just a matter of us working together and amplifying this. And actually, we thank you for this opportunity, because this is actually one of the ways we can get this message out there to as many people as we can.
Angela, do you help us sieve the information that we put on internet, or for as long as somebody is connected to internet, then they can just get into anything that they so desire in this world? Is there a mechanism with you that sieves? For example, he's talking about schools now. It's digital. Once you get into the computer laboratory, once you get into the computer library, once you get into all the things, and for as long as you can get into any search engine, then the next thing is you are traversing the world.
Yes, there are tools that we can actually use to sieve what comes through the internet. For example, if it's a school, they can implement a tool, a gadget, something that makes sure that whatever content that children access within that school is actually safe content. So there are these measures that you actually put in place, the tools that you can use. Same for the workplace. You have all these tools that you can put in place, but like anything on the internet, there's always a way to go around these tools. Yes, but there are definitely tools that we can put in place. Let me go back to children and phones and parents. If your child has a phone, there are actually parental controls that you can put in place to make sure that your children are not accessing content that you shouldn't be accessing. There are settings that you can pick out for your child when they're using a gadget that will actually prevent them from accessing content that is not right. So even on those gadgets, even on the browsers that we use, there are those safety settings that you can implement as a parent. You just have to go to the safety setting and put parental controls on those particular gadgets. So that the key thing is to make sure that these are actually implemented by the parents. Then also one other thing that I'd like to sound off is if you're ever in a situation where you've been cyber abused, cyber harassed, there is hope. You can actually report and get help. You see, the problem is with the internet, it's on 24/7. For as long as you're online, anyone can reach out to you. It's like, for as long as my phone is on, anyone can call me.
Anytime.
Yeah, you're like, who is this calling me? Oh, yeah, and they will say anything they want to say. So it's knowing that that you shouldn't feel alone, that you're out there, and because your perpetrator is with you 24/7. Wherever your internet is on, they are there. So there's also the need to know you can report to your parents, to your teachers, to an adult, to law enforcement. But it's very important that these children actually speak out when they are being bullied online. Yes.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Angela. Finally, from you, we want to go to court. Ndugu Cliff, finally from you.
In addition to what she was talking about, children go online looking for content. If what they find there is adult content, they will consume adult content. Now, I would encourage our different media houses and different organizations to increase the production of
child content.
Yes, educational child content. Now, there are some companies I've seen doing tablets specifically for children. Now, those have games, they have activities that are going to engage the children into developing their skills as children. So that's one thing.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Angela Tugume, the risk analyst from Anita U, and Mutegeki Cliff Agaba from ISOC Uganda. I want to thank both of you for having allowed to join us on Good Morning Uganda Extra this morning, and to just let our people know that we will now just transit to the Supreme Court in Kololo, where the presidential elections petition kicks off. You've just been told that, the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi's lawyers, I think, are asking to make some amendments or already there, but we just want to welcome you there. Thank you so much, Nita. Thank you so much, ISOC, and of course, thanking everybody as we do our best to ensure that we get into the best Safer Internet Day 2021. Remembering that our children, of course, are very important to all of us, and we need to ensure that child online safety is important. It comes back to all of us. We shouldn't leave it to Nita and ISOC, but even you, the parents, need to also be very careful about how you manage internet with your children out there. Thank you so much. My name is Jagan Asemakola Zikusoka. We'll now take you to court. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Coming soon on UBC. Food is more than just a great meal. It's even better when it's prepared with art. The Big Kitchen, coming soon on your public broadcaster, brought to you by...
You may